Everybody, what is up? It's Rob. I'm coming at you with the Wednesday nightly watch list, and we have a special edition of today's watch list because I'm actually in my girlfriend's car right now. She dragged me out to do shopping. Now I have a really bad headache, so I don't know. Maybe next time I just gotta stay home. But she's over here. What do you have to say about that, huh?
Robert, come on, no. Babe, no.
Okay, guys, so this is what I have for you. So, all of the indexes, right? We're talking NASDAQ, Dow, S&P 500. They ended up over 0.5% today. And the reason for that green move was that the job report came in stronger than expected this morning, right? So, we did see strong, numbers out of the labor market, and tech stocks bounce. So we are in earnings season, and we're getting a lot of earnings coming out. So, today was kind of a little bit of a bounce from the past 2 days, and then we did have good data that came out in the morning, so that helped the markets open up green. But right now, we are in history because this is the longest U.S. government shutdown ever recorded in history. And I saw a statistic today that said the U.S. is losing around $15 billion a week from this shutdown. So, guys, we're in history, all right, with everything going on. And well, that headline there just goes and proves it. Also, what I wanted to share with you was, right, we had a intraday bounce on tariff stocks. So what I ended up doing today, I actually made an options play during the day on Nike because a headline came out, and this is all because of those prediction markets, right? And it was a headline that said there's only a 25% chance currently of the Supreme Court ruling in favor of Trump tariffs. Now, if you don't know, right, the Supreme Court is actually taking a case on Trump tariffs to see if they'll be allowed and if we have to pay the money back, right, of all the money that we collected on these tariffs. So basically what happened was the poly markets came out, and there was a meeting today, right, where, there was a lot of questions being asked about the tariffs on this case that started exactly today. And, it wasn't going that well. So as you can see from the prediction markets, right, they say there's only a 25% chance of, the Trumps ruling in favor of Trump's tariffs. So that headline, right, sent a lot of those stocks that got hit by tariffs up today. And one of those names was Nike. And since we get the news, fastest in the world, I got that headline and we bought some calls on Nike and made some money. So that's what I have for you, right? Kind of calls that intraday move. And then we also saw Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly, right? Lilly had a great day. I mean, it ran up all day. But Novo Nordisk had an intraday pop that we also played today. And that was a bounce because, right, they had an agreement with the Trump administration, right, on Medicare prices. So Trump actually has a meeting tomorrow at 11 a.m. where he's going to be discussing, this agreement publicly. But we got to the headline quick enough and we made money. So, this did send the stocks up, but it's to be determined because, right, they're agreeing to sell their prices or their drugs, right? For example, Novo Nordisk is agreeing to sell their Ozempic and Wegovy for cheaper, like $150 a month. But they'll also be allowed, to be on the Medicare plan. So it's, it's double-ended. Sell your drugs for less, maybe you can sell more. And we already saw Pfizer, right, their stock popped off, weeks ago when they first signed their deal with Trump, but it's sold off because the truth here is, right, it is a positive news in the short term because it gets rid of that tariff risk on these healthcare companies. But at the same time, if you're agreeing to sell your products for less, well, if the volume doesn't increase and people don't buy more, well, you're going to end up making less money. So keep your eyes out on Novo Nordisk, NVO, and Eli Lilly tomorrow because there is going to be a meeting, and Trump's going to be talking about that at 11 a.m. tomorrow. And also, pre-market, Novo Nordisk had earnings, and it's one of the bigger positions we have in our long-term portfolio. Now, the earnings weren't exactly bad, but management did give bad forward guidance. So the guidance was cut again, and this was the third quarter in a row where guidance was cut. So, the stock has already been beaten up a lot, so it didn't really sell off, and this Trump deal, is helping out at the moment. That headline is keeping the stock elevated. And don't you guys just love my girlfriend's car? Look at this Kia, it's so amazing. And then also pre-market, we had a big headline where China bans foreign AI chips from state-funded data centers. So the ticker symbols I want you guys to watch are AMD, NVIDIA, and Intel, because NVIDIA, right? If China actually allowed them and the U.S. allowed them to sell their chips there, that would open up a huge market, okay? But for national security reasons, right, both of these countries take extreme caution. So China today banned foreign AI chips from state-funded data centers, okay? So keep your eyes out for AMD, Intel, and NVIDIA on this. And then I do have, right, I'm coming at you with this watch list later in the night, and there was earnings after hours, and there was big moves, okay? So what I have for you here was DoorDash down 20% after hours on earnings. Elf Beauty down 25% after hours on earnings. And then we also saw Snapchat, they popped over 15% after hours on their earnings because they had a great monthly subscriber number. Well, at the same time, right, they had an agreement with Perplexity's AI, okay? And they're going to integrate Perplexity AI into Snapchat, and Perplexity is going to play around. God, I'm saying a lot of P words here. But Perplexity is going to pay $400 million in cash to Snapchat for global access. So, right, that is great for the company. Sent the stock up over 15 to 20% after hours, okay? So those are the big three names that had big moves after hours: Dash, Elf, Snapchat, okay? And then I got more intraday news for you, right? Microsoft and Path. If you're not familiar with Path, right, they're an AI company, and they teamed up to expand their partnership, okay? And they're going to be the preferred enterprise automation platform on Microsoft Azure. So that was big news that sent the stock over $15 today. And then also, right, Pinterest, they had their earnings pre-market, okay, and they were down over 18% pre-market after their earnings miss. So you're seeing huge moves on these names. We're talking over 20% on earnings, okay? So crazy movement. And then we also had McDonald's pre-market, and right, a lot of these food companies are getting really, hit hard now because the consumers' pockets are stretched, and McDonald's was up over % because the earnings actually, turned out okay, and right, they've been doing really great on their value push amid this challenging environment, right, where these consumers are stretched, but they're still getting people in the door in the drive-thru by their promotions, right? Just recently they came out with the McDonald's Monopoly game, right? They brought it back for this value push, and you can see in their earnings, right? It's working. So McDonald's is holding up, and I wanted to share that with you because we just recently added Chipotle to the long-term portfolio, because that has been absolutely beaten up because, right, these food stocks are getting killed this year. Okay, so we added that to the long term, and you're seeing, right, if you can provide some sort of value on your menu, right, any sort of promotion, you are going to get rewarded for that in this market, and the McDonald's earnings goes to show that. So, guys, it's all the news I have for you, but, like I want to tell you, always make sure, right, when you're doing these trades, right, you're positioning yourself correctly, you're not going crazy, okay? You're always making smart decisions, but, the main thing, too, it's always the long-term portfolio, right? Save 10% of your income, set up monthly deposits into the long-term portfolio, and we're buying names at multi-year lows, right, that we ideally use, that we know about, that we can understand, and that we believe will be here in 5 to 10 years. And, I eat at Chipotle all the time, right? I love it. And I do think that, like their chicken bowl, right, is a great value right now. So for a $9, $10 bowl, right, you can go to Chipotle and get a dinner for yourself. Now, of course, they make a lot of their money when you start to add guacamole and cheese. That's when the prices get expensive. But look, they still had that chicken bowl, which is a good value proposition. So, I love Chipotle. I think it's a great product. I'm going to eat it 5 years from now, and it's going to be here. So it's on sale. That's exactly why we added to a long-term portfolio. So guys, that's everything I have for you. Daphne, do you have anything to say to the people? No, she's camera shy. She has to, warm up to the YouTube. But here you go, exclusive view of the Kia, and here we are going back home. So guys, peace out. That's the watch list. Stay locked in. Okay, we have a lot of opportunity coming into the year end. So that's everything I have for you. Peace out. All right, Daphne, say bye. Silence. Okay.